few months after the 9/11 attacks on the World Trade Center and the Pentagon, I needed to be in New York City for business. And after several days of meetings, I finally had a free afternoon. We were done with our work, and I really wanted to go visit Ground Zero. Now, I was working then on the Upper West Side, and Ground Zero is in Lower Manhattan, so I needed to take the subway. So I looked at a subway map and figured out which train I needed to take. Now, riding the subway was not new to me. In the mid-1980s, I lived about 40 miles outside New York City in New Jersey, and I had spent many days in Manhattan riding the subways. So I made my way to the platform and went down under the street to the train. It was mid-afternoon, and there were very few people on the platform. The train arrived with the screeching noise that is so characteristic of the New York subway system. The train was old. Actually, I think it might have been the oldest train still in service on the subway system. It had been tagged with graffiti, the windows were etched, the inside was grimy, and the lights were dim. This was the haunted house of New York City subway trains. But I got on. I looked around. There were only a couple of people on the car, and so I chose a seat away from everyone else, right in the middle of the train. And New York City subway trains at the time, the seats faced each other, going down each side of the train. The doors close. The car screeches through the tunnel. And at the next stop, when the doors open, a single young man got into the car. Now, this man was the archetypical gangbanger. Grungy, tattooed, pierced, tough. He oozed trouble. As a matter of fact, if you get your phone out and you Google the word trouble, you see his picture. That's how he looked. And in this nearly empty train, he chose to sit directly across from me. Now, my threat level was already on high because you never know what's going to happen in a different city. But when this guy chose to sit right across from me, my threat level went up. Rumbling through a tunnel, lights flickering on and off, darkness seemingly everywhere, this situation felt threatening. Suddenly, the door slammed to my left, and the passage between the two cars opened, and an old woman came into our car. Now, this woman was obviously unhoused and unclean. She was dressed in ragged clothes and definitely needed a good bath. She had a cup, rattling it, hoping someone would give her some change. Keep in mind, this was more than 20 years ago. And she was ranting and raving about something. She definitely had demons that I didn't want to know anything about. And she started working her way down the car toward me. You've been in this situation, haven't you? You know exactly how to behave. You look down at the floor. You hope that this woman passes you by, that she doesn't stop and talk to you directly. I did not want to look at poverty, at being unhoused, at being filled with demons in the face. I wanted to melt into my seat and hope that this just passed me by. So at this point, picture this. I'm avoiding eye contact with the tough kid sitting across from me. I'm avoiding this woman walking down the train. I've got my head down. I'm huddled completely in myself. I just wanted to get to my stop. Just as this woman got to where I was sitting, the young man across from me jumped up out of his seat, and he moved to my right. Great, I thought. He's going to use the distraction of this woman to mug me. As I look around, I realize that I'm now trapped. He's standing just to my right. She's just to my left. If I try to get out of this situation, my best route is to push her aside and rush down the train, and that doesn't seem like a very nice thing to do. So I sat there paralyzed. Bad things were about to happen. And as I watched, almost in slow motion, this young thug stuck his hand in his jeans pocket to pull out his knife, I'm fairly sure. The train lurched as we came into the station, brakes squealing, the lights flickered, the threat level in my mind went off the scale. But when he pulled out his hand, he was not holding a knife. He was holding a roll of money. He peeled off a bill. I think it was a 5. He put it in the woman's cup. He said, "Take care, old woman." And just at that moment, the doors to the train opened. He walked off the train and disappeared onto the platform. The woman continued shaking her cup. Her demons hadn't been excised, and she went down the car through the door. The door slammed shut. The train cars closed, and we continued in the dark tunnel. I was stunned. I sat there thinking about what I had just watched and realized that my assumptions, my worldview had just dramatically changed. How many times do we assume the worst about someone who's different, someone who might be a different economic status, a different nationality, or a different culture? How easy it is to judge the outside of a person when we know nothing about who they are on the inside. Children in Jesus' time had very little value. And Jesus takes one of these little ones, the ones who were overlooked, who were ignored, who were avoided, and puts them in our midst. And then he says, "If anyone wishes to be first, he shall be the last and the servant of all." Wow.